Hello, friend. Donna Reiners here. I bless you today. I have a thought in my mind about being still and knowing the one that lives inside you. Being still to listen, being still to know, being still and hearing the deep things we don't want to know, the things that we don't want to hear. Being still to know. And God has something to say that impacts us deeply, that promotes change, that brings direction, that brings instruction, that sometimes even brings correction. Though I know many in grace don't always agree with me that God does that. But He's so kind and so loving and so compassionate and so merciful and so gracious. He's all in. He lives within. He lives inside of you, my friend. Lives inside of you, my friend. Father, Son, and Spirit live inside of you. And in that space where God lives inside you, you have opportunity to know, K-N-O-W, intimately, the one who lives inside you. You have opportunity to go with that flow. You have an opportunity to connect, to know deeply and intimately, the one who lives inside me. And see, this is the thing. Not everybody wants to know the one who lives inside. Not everybody wants to know the one who lives inside. Some people just want to get where they're going. Some people just want to get their job done. Some people just want to feel happy. Some people just want to express themselves in a way that they feel like they're okay. But see, the thing is, God has something for you and God has something for me, and sometimes it requires a stopping to hear. And that stopping to hear, you can't stop and hear in my environment. You can only stop and hear in your environment. What do I mean? If you want all your ducks to be in a row and everything to have the perfect environment for you to hear God, more than likely, you'll find something else to do anyway. The truth is God meets each one of us exactly where we are in the environment in which we're in. So if you are a busy mom, you have a bunch of kids around you, a bunch of smelly diapers, you have a demanding household, a demanding lifestyle, God's going to meet you in that space for you to hear His voice in the midst of that tempest, in the midst of all that jibber jabber. He's going to meet you. He's going to meet you. He's not going to wait for you to go be still to meet Him. But in that space inside, if you will make room in the midst of the busyness, in the midst of all of the jibber jabber, if you'll say, God, here I have a space in here. I'm listening here. I'm listening in this space. I'm listening right here. Making room for Him to hear you. Making room to you, for you to know what He's saying to you. You might be seeking Him on something very specific, and you're wanting an answer. Well, He is not the Jack in the Box where you roll Him up and then He just pops up and says, here you go. No, it's about relationship. It's about moving and grooving and having your being in the one who lives and moves and grooves and has His being in you. So getting still. Maybe your life is so demanding, 6 a.m. to midnight. Start with 5 minutes after midnight. When you lay down in bed or lay next to the bed, just be still and say, here I am. Maybe you only have 60 seconds before you are going to pass out exhausted. Let that 60 seconds be so strong and so intentional. Because you know what? Your 60 seconds could be stronger than somebody else's 3 hours because of your intention. Intentionally listening, intentionally being open for the Father, Son, and Spirit to speak to you. He might have something to say to you that will literally determine the next direction of your life. But yet, if you don't want to know, then you may not want to grow and you may not want to flow, because the truth is, God is the one who knows you better than you know yourself. And sometimes it does take you risking listening, risking the listening to see if God may have something to say to you. And many of us rely on this word to be the only place that God speaks. But yet He's living and moving and breathing and having His being inside of you, who are living and moving and breathing and having your being inside of Him. He is the water that you drink. And He is the glass that you drink it. He lives inside of you. He lives inside of me. And in that place of relationship, that place where He's living and moving and breathing and speaking and holding and loving, in that space, that real space that you've made room for, He can compel you. He does have the solutions that you're looking for. He even has answers for some of the things that you want. He does, because He's the smartest person. The smartest person you know, and the smartest person I know. So I encourage you today, meet yourself where you are, in this space inside. Remember who lives inside you. Real people, the real Father, the real Son, the real Spirit live inside of you. Those three inside of you make you and them one. There's no separation. There's no separation. So leaning in to listen, as if you are leaning in to listen with 1,000 other voices around you, where you're so intentional. You're like, I'm listening. Listening. That space inside where you're listening. And see, this is the other thing. You don't always just want an answer. You don't always just want a solution. That's like going to your daddy just because you want some money to go to the store with. No, we listen because He is our life. He is our love. We listen because we're inseparable. That's why we listen. That's why we drink the water. Because it's the water that belongs inside of us. So I just encourage you today to take 5 minutes, if you can, every day, even if you go outside for 5 minutes, and just sit still. You may not know how to sit still. You may go outside and you have to do something. I encourage you to practice just sitting still, even if it's for 60 seconds. Practice the action of just breathing, listening, hearing. You might find it get uncomfortable. You might enjoy the sounds. You might enjoy the noise. You might be uncomfortable in the silence. But God is not uncomfortable with you. I encourage you to take a deep breath. And just hear. And just be. And I tell you what, do that daily. I tell you what not to do. Don't do it with an expectation that you're just going to have some great big waha. Do it with an expectancy that you stopping and you being is an invitation that the presence of God within you is being in you and you're with them. And you're in this no separation zone, this union. When you do that every day, it brings a peace and a calm. It brings an ear that hears. It brings opportunity for peace and calm in the midst of someone else's pieces. It also prevents you from, it stops you in a repeat cycle. Sometimes you have a cycle that comes every year. A cycle of, I got to sit down and get sick, or a cycle of, I got to go, or a cycle of, I got to be here, a cycle of, I got to go there, or a cycle of, I got to binge on this, or a cycle of, I got to eat this, or a cycle of, I got to go talk to that person, or a cycle of, man, I just need to shut down, or a cycle of, I got a headache, or a cycle of, I got to do this. Listen, the body has memory. And if you want to stop the memory of cycles coming after you and posing as God, posing and bringing you into a counterfeit, be still and listen and wait and see what God has good for you from that tree of life and living. Anyway, I bless you today. Just a little snippet in life and living and breathing and moving and having your being in the one who lives and moves and breathes and has their being in you. Until soon. Bye. Love ya. Donna Rose. Yay!